Good afternoon, and welcome to the Bryan Board of Public Affairs meeting for January 19th, 2016. We'll start the meeting by approving the minutes of the January 5th meeting. You've read the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? And then I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Next is a hearing of public concern.
15.
Any questions? Can I have a motion, please?
I move it.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Next is a resolution authorizing the final payment from the Communications Department to the Electric Department for the inter-fund loan authorized in 2003.
Okay, this will be resolution number 1, 2016, a resolution to authorize the final payments from the 509 Communications to the 501 Electric Fund for the inter-fund loan authorized by Resolution 52, 2003. So back in 2013, into 2012, early 2013, when the board promoted me to director, one of the things they wanted me to address at that time, sort of aggressively, was to look at ways to pay off the interdepartmental loan from the electric department to the communication department to get the cable system up and going and built. The original loan back in 1998 had several resolutions that finally turned into resolution number 53, 2003 for $2,080,000. At that time, there's just a little over $1 million that was still owed on the note, and we took a very aggressive approach and started increasing the principal plus extra principal payments. Two things were in our favor at that time. The interest rates sort of tanked, to be honest, and we were looking at less than 0.7% on the interest rate of that $1 million. So, you know, effectively you're paying $200 or less in interest on the note. So we undertook that, and I'm happy to say today, this year, final payment of $294,848.50, which is interest and principal, will finalize that note. So total, the department has paid since 2013 $1,147,217, and for the life of the loan, since 03, 2.441 million, so $2,441,000 have been paid back to the electric department. I included in your board packet a copy of Resolution 52, 2003, so you should have a chance to read that. And also a copy of the promissory note, which gives the particulars in there on council and board's approval for that promissory note. So this is big stuff. This really is, actually. This is a good thing. That department, this gives it a fighting chance to get on its own 2 feet and operate. You know, when you're taking $300,000 to $350,000 a year away from any kind of capital improvements or operations to make payments, it really ties the hands of that department. We get through this year, and you know how frugal Joe has been the last 3 or 4 years. We do one more year at about that level that releases some dollars for next year to start to do some replacement of some material and parts that we want to, you know, tackle. So, very excited, very excited. So, questions, comments? I should have a big note here that we burn and stuff, but that's a little overboard, but I'm pretty excited about it.
It's a good deal.
You know what, when we undertook this, Joe and I sat and we were talking, I'm like, man, this is going to be tough. You know, this next 3 years is going to be just a bear to get through. Well, we're here today looking back, and it was rough. But today it's that big, you know, off your shoulders sigh relief.
It's worthwhile.
So, yeah, it has been. It wasn't an easy process, but it was well worth it.
You don't have to carry a house on your shoulders anymore. Just a truck.
There you go. Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Dick?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, next A discussion and resolution authorizing a non-binding letter of interest for participation in AMP's advanced metering project.
Okay, this would be resolution number 2, 2016. It's a resolution authorizing the Bryan Director of Utilities to submit a non-binding letter of interest for participation in the advanced metering project with American Municipal Power Inc. So our discussion on this letter of intent, working with Chief Information Officer Bryan Kelly, which is down there at AMP. He has been one of the leaders in this project, as well as about 10 of us municipalities. If you remember, I mean, for some of the board members who have been on, not the newest members, presented about 6 months ago what was going on with the project itself. And at that time, Mr. Horn was pretty excited about it, and I told him to hang on until we got some letters of intent and got Rhonda involved and whatnot. I had Rhonda make some connections with AMP staff and make some recommendations on the capital part of the project. You know, it's really two parts of the project. There's a capital need, which is the purchasing of the meters themselves and some of that infrastructure what's allow that meter to be read. And then there's the engineering side of it, or professional services side, where they're taking that data, harvesting it, and getting it back to us by user portals and some other things. So there's definitely two different things going on there. We did bring those concerns, those two separate concerns, to the AMP staff as well as the other participants that are, you know, the leaders in this project. And we are still working through that process. However, the AMP board, which, you know, we do sit on, had a concern because they didn't want to see this project fail. They see value in the ability to help the utilities make this happen. Okay, so what we had at the time was, and we still do, 80 to 110,000 meters sitting out there ready to dive in this pool, and a potential of 200,000 meters on top of that sitting in the wings to make sure this thing kicks off. So the big boys in the group, and I would say the big boys, the large municipalities that carry 40 and 50,000 meters, are sitting back waiting to see if this thing gets off the ground before they jump in. They're making a commitment one way or the other, some of these bigger players. They're going to either get in on their own, or they're going to take this by the horn and jump in with us. So what this letter of intent came around was, you know, we need to get a gauge of those communities that are still actively wanting to pursue this, so we can get some numbers hammered out. I included the letter from Bryan in your board packet, and the process we have taken to get to the two vendors that we are finishing up negotiations with, okay? They as an AMP and staff understand that we need assurances only to the state level that the process we have taken meets all the state requirements for bidding, as well as requests for proposals and whatnot. And I think we're on that road. Rhonda's help. In fact, Rhonda had some ideas that she posed to AMP staff, and they were investigating, and that's where we're at right now, still working through that. So we have our legal support team as well involved. So what I have here, I have an AMP board meeting tomorrow and Thursday. Seeing that we are one of the leaders in the group, because this need is really coming down the tracks at us, I felt it was prudent that we would be one of the first ones to get this letter of interest going to show that, yeah, we're committed. Now, this doesn't tie you to the project that you're stuck and now you got to pay a bill. This is just saying, we have a commitment from the board that, yes, we're interested in this project. If it takes off, if it makes financial sense, if it makes the, you know, if it goes the way it should go, we're behind it. However, if it doesn't, we're not behind it. And that's, if you read the letter, that is what we're saying to them. And they just need it in writing. Questions, comments?
Are we still going to get in a group together with the other communities for mind power, I should say?
So AMI is an advanced metering infrastructure. It's the ability to read the meters and pull the data back home here for billing purposes. Okay, so that's the biggest thing we want to address first. It's a meter to cash thing. Meter to cash, period. All the other ancillaries that happen behind the scenes, be it customer interfaces for residential, for commercial accounts, the ability to tie to the billing system itself, and the billing system can grab the data and do special things to it. The ability for us to manage load and balance load, as well as do outage management systems and all that other stuff. That's part of this. So it's not power buying, it's the power we sold to our customers monitoring it, okay? You currently have a metering system that's in place today that's well over 30 plus years old. So we physically go out and read a meter. The handhelds that we carry are outdated and getting harder and harder to repair, okay? The other thing we run into is there are no two systems that allow you to read electric and water and bring that data together. You know, what we have right now is a handheld that is a dumb device, and we say, hey, here's the reading for the water, here's the reading for electric, and when you report back to the clerk's office, you always put your information in these boxes, let's call them, or buckets, the term we always throw around, and that's where our billing system goes, yes, I recognize that, and we're going to bill based on this usage and consumption. Today, with advancements in metering, really electric has sort of went off on its own little path, or water sort of off on its own path, and even gas is part of this, has went off on their own path. So what you have is the ability to read meters, bring data in, and then you have to have another software program that goes, okay, and I'm going to aggregate all this data together for billing systems to understand. Now, can we go out and do this on our own? This is a rather expensive project. To replace the meters, to be able to read the meters, for one thing, is the most expensive part. The next larger expense is the reoccurring cost of the maintenance fees of the servers, the things that hold all your data, and the ability to manage the upgrades to those. That's all encompassed in this. So this project, as I mentioned before in the presentation, is a meter to cash, but inside of that we have a per meter per read fee. So there's a small fee to read the meter, but once that data is brought in, then the data is presented in 10 different fashions. So you have some cost savings there. The other small cost savings, and I don't like when the sales reps try to tell you how much you're going to save on revenues because the inaccuracy of meters. Okay, well, the inaccuracy of meters realistically is probably around 5% when it comes to the total broad picture of 35-year-old meters. You have some that are going to read probably 99 to 102% all the time on the money. There's always that handful that have been hit by lightning or something's happened to them and they slow down, and we find them, and we still find meters that way. Your water meters is the same thing. They're old, and Norm can correct me on the water side, they're old brass meters, and you've got water that's went through them, so you have some cavitation and some sediment and other things that could slow them down. The newer meters don't have that issue as much, but they still are a piece of mechanical equipment, okay? On our end, we know the largest part of the cost that we will incur is the capital side. Water meters alone can range to about $1.5 million. Now, when we did our cost of service study for water, if you will remember that meeting, we built that into that model to recover over X years, so we know that payment's coming in to do this. And we also said, if this particular project, the one I'm asking for a non-binding letter of commitment, doesn't take off, that we come back to you guys as board members and say, okay, this didn't take off, we've got to reevaluate this water rate and do some adjustments to it, because we don't need to collect that money right now. So all the legwork's been done in the background to get us to this point. This is the next step for me to continue, I'll be honest, continue to push the AMP team in the right direction. We are very vocal, and I say we, I am very vocal on this. We need it here. We're on this train track that's coming, that we either are going to make a large investment in metering of some shape or form for the utility, because we have to. You know, 35 years plus of equipment being in the field, somebody has to replace it, and it's on our shoulders now. So,
Well, if we're going to have to replace meters anyway, we might as well go with the technology that's out there. I mean, if this will get our foot in the door, and as long as we're not obligated to anything.
and this particular groups, that if you read the letter, those particular groups have the ability to take, because I know we had, Karen had made a comment during one of our meetings that, you know, there are meters that we put in the last 2 years or 3 years that have that ability to send that readout, but we don't use it. Was those meters, did we waste our money on those meters? And the answer is no, because the software program that the professional service side of this can take those meters as they're in place and start to pull that data in. You know, our system can't do it. You know, the meters we buy today have that ability. Our electric meters are the same way. It's just, yeah, we didn't waste the money on that.
But the old inaccurate meters that are out there now waiting to be replaced, to replace them with the new remote read meters. I mean, you might as well, if you're going to do it, you might as well go into it.
Yeah, you might as well do it right, and
Yeah.
do it the first time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the same attitude we took when we did the street lighting project. If you're gonna replace all of them and get the savings and the goodie right off the bat, you're gonna do them all at one shot. You know, you realize you set yourself up also for the future, you know, so the meters of the past had a 20-plus year life expectancy before you would see a mass failure, okay? And I don't want to say our meters are inaccurate. They are not inaccurate. If we find meters that are, they get changed out. So let's make sure that's
Yeah.
clear. We do meter testing monthly. We pull samples out of the system. We're constantly sampling and testing our meters. And there are people in town that we have said, you know, your bill's off, we got to correct it. And here's why. So, I mean, that's known. But when you start to take the new technologies, it's like everything from cars to computers to, it's a solid state piece of equipment. It has a shorter life expectancy. That is why we chose to see our system paid off in a 5 to 7 year period, depreciated out over a 10-year period, hoping to get 15, because I honestly am going to tell you, in 15 years, you're going to start this whole process all over again. This is now an operational expense that's going to keep reoccurring every 15 years. You're going to pay it off and start again. Pay it off, start again. They don't make things the way they used to. Okay? And customers today are asking for more information. I mean, we have customers that call and want to know when their highest water usage, what time of day was it? When did it happen? Our commercial accounts, to be competitive in the commercial world, they need to know when their peaks happen. They need to know when their largest energy draws are. Not just capacity, the energy side. Because they're tailoring their business model around that. If we can't provide that to them, we're hurting them. And we struggle with that today. We have several by about 15 what we call time of use accounts that we monitor their usage from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 7 p. to 7 a. And that billing system for those largest customers can take advantage of that. But to help them actually pinpoint what machines are doing what at what energy blocks of the day, I can't do. I can give them small samples. The new style meters are taking 15-minute reads, and we can even dial them down to 10-minute reads. So we can start taking tighter snapshots of those commercial accounts at their request and start to provide that data. And they can get the data themselves with all the matrices behind it to show them relevant information. So I mean, there's a lot more than just a meter read, but we're not there. Initially, meter to cash, and then as we get into this and get the bugs popped out of it, we start to go into these other things. You know, that's when the value really starts to come out. So, other questions? Go ahead, Bill.
How many meters do we have in
Water and electric combined, you're going to have about 9,600. So you got 6,000 electric meters, give or take, and 35 and some change water meters. Water is 3 to 1 on cost over electric.
as I understand this AMI project, then will you have levels of meters you can choose from in this bid process? If you want X brand or you want Y brand, or is it just going to be one option with a module in it?
No. Through this process, we really, as a team, and that's all the utility managers involved, wanted to look at the ability to have maybe 2 to 3 electric meters and maybe 2 or 3 water meters, just because of diversity. You have some utilities that are involved that already have, like an example would be a tried and true name, GE meters, GE electric meters. You know, they've spent a lot of money in the last 3 years replacing all their meters to GE. They don't want to just redo all that. However, you know, there are certain players in the market that have been there for 60 years plus. They know how to do metering, they do it right, they do it well. Then you have these new entrants, these new players coming in that are falling off by the wayside. So we actually, as a team, said, you know, let's not look at the low end, let's not look at the Cadillac, maybe one of the Cadillacs can be in there, but let's look at that mid to the Cadillac and give that ability to choose of these. Same thing with the water meters. We brought Norman on the water meter portion of it and sat down, and you know, there was a meter that I am not familiar with, and Norm was, and he said it's the middle of the road. It's not a bad meter, but it's middle of the road. You know, it's one of those that are going to last what you say it is and probably not much more. And then you have, let's say, a Census, which is another manufacturer that's been around a long time. I mean, they're good at water meters that you're going to pay a little more for, and they'll be around a little longer. But, you know, talking to Norm, he's like, they're both going to do what you want. It's just how long do you want to depreciate off? How long do you want to do before you replace again? So,
One more question.
yeah, go for it.
And then the Silver Springs Network provides the field communication network, and I read that in there. I had it. But it was interesting, you got back into street lighting application and street light modules, and I picked up on that just because we had gotten into, our street lights and flipped over to LED and did some things, and you could manage that with this too, or potentially with that?
Yeah, so realize Silver Springs deals with small accounts to the account of 1 million plus customers. And on those 1 million plus customers, street lighting is charged to the communities that they provide lighting services to. Street lighting for us is a stranded cost. It's provided. It's built into the rate. I'm gonna be honest. In some communities, that's not the case. We would issue a invoice to the city side every month for those street lighting services and usages. With that, then Silver Springs has software applications that are tied to the PhotoEyes that tells you when the light's out, what the energy usage, the average energy usage is, when ballasts are going bad. It also allows them to do some special things with LED lighting. So on some of the new LED lighting out there, let's say the LED lighting has dual rows of LEDs, and there's 6 in the row, and combined they put out X amount of light, but on a single run they put out X amount of light, which is less light. They have software packages that at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 in non-high traveled areas, they dim themselves down. They still provide safety for lighting, but they reduce their energy draw that way and they dim down. However, they have sensors built into them that are almost like occupancy sensors or motion sensors, that if a car is coming down the street, they kick back on and brighten all the way back up. Because the LED has the ability to do that. The Silver Spring software manages that. You set your parameters, and it does those things. So those cities that are paying the extra to the utility for lighting and other things, they see large savings there because they can control their energy usage that way. Where today, we have our lights are pretty efficient compared to what the old style. But when they're on, they're on. When they're off, they're off. There's no controlling them. So, and believe it or not, they actually have PhotoEyes that have Wi-Fi capabilities that they start to build when you put your PhotoEye in. It starts to build a Wi-Fi mesh over your city. And those are the linking points.
Linking points?
Yeah, so there's a lot of technology out there we're not using. But the capability is always there. Good question, so.
But it could help us manage, if we wanted to try and manage some of the energy usage, we potentially could do that.
Yeah, because, so take your street lighting for example. We were first generation on LEDs, and I realized they're a little, their light intensity may not be where new ones are at today, but there will be a day and time when we need to change all those out because, again, we put them all in within a 8-month period. So chances are when you start to have failures at a certain rate, it's going to make sense we got to change them all out. At that time, you want the technology in place that you can control that. But you also have to have the software in place to make sure you can do it.
Yeah, you're going to have to have a module on the unit,
Yep.
and you're also going to have the software which to control.
Yep, and this is a la carte. If you read that, Silver Springs is a la carte. If I don't want that capability, that's not added to our cost. However, in the future, if we say as a board, you know what, we want to be able to manage those lights, go ahead and design that in for our cost, and we're going to start buying lights that do that, and we can control it.
But the streetlight circuits that are metered will be in on this.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be, like the main high street.
Yep.
All the,
And we do meter those lights, so
Right.
don't think they're just out there burning for
Yeah.
free.
No.
We monitor the
I know
lights,
that,
and
I know.
trust me, we track those.
There's some of the comments will come back from, hey, the softball field, the industrial softball
Right.
field lights are on at midnight, why are they on? Or, some tennis court lights, why are they on? And so maybe it would give you the ability to try and manage some of that with the technology that is available. They couldn't do that.
So we will, our goal is to eventually get there, but the most critical part that we sat down with Pat and Lori and their staff was right off the bat, we want to make sure we get 99.9% reads as accurate as they're supposed to be, so the meter to cash doesn't change, and then we can slowly build this and educate our customers on what they have the ability to get into. It truly is an education process. You start showing the homeowners, residential, hey, you can pull this account up, and it's a dummy account, but it's yours, that you can see what's going on, and you can start to see where your energy usage is at, and maybe you can help save yourself some money. But we got to get there.
As opposed to turn on your microwave, taking your wife going outside and say, look at the meter.
Yeah.
it'd be a good start.
Even though you have LED bulbs in your house, that meter still spins. Now, I appreciate that, we really do. However,
Gotta make money somehow. Okay. Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Bill,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Dick.
Yes.
As we move through the AMP meetings on this, I will keep you guys posted. So,
Next up is a review of the 2015 by department heads.
something hit the space bar on this side. Okay, so we took a little different approach this year. I know in the past, it seemed like the director side of it, we ended up encompassing some of the projects that the staff members were going to talk about. So I went back through and said, you know, let's just take the quarters of the year and look at the board as a group of what we've done as a board and utility as the managers, and let the department heads show off their departments. So mine's fairly short because of that, but I want to bring out some of the important things that the board covered, as well as then at the very end we'll hit some power supply and some employee stuff. So right off the bat, early last year we entered into contract for the GT2 rotor inspection and repair. Now that's just, we got into contract, and we had several resolutions thereafter for amendments that were change orders, but that unit is now up and running, and as Matt had mentioned in some of our committee meetings, it's running probably 1.5 megawatts more than what we ever anticipated. So it's really doing a nice job. We contracted with Bennett Williams for a groundwater study, which was presented to you folks. We revised the communication department general rules and regulations. And we also renewed the cable television franchise agreements with Center Township and Pulaski Township. During the second quarter of the year, we entered into a contract with Artec Communications to increase our Ethernet service capability or capacity. Realized we went from a 500 meg circuit to a 1 gig fiber circuit, and I'll tell you today, it's still not enough. We are sitting over 850 all day long plus, so there's a real need for more bandwidth. We have some limitations, but probably at the end of this year, you'll be getting some more information on that as well. Board and Council approved the purchase of 80 acres to develop a new industrial park. That's been a great project, and we are still working through that right now on the sense of with RGP and some of the other state sites. Approved change orders again for the GT2 turbine repair in that second quarter. We did sell 4 acres of the new industrial park excuse me, to Orchard Road Properties, which is Davlin, the little 4 acres there by the old cable office, so he can do his expansion. And from what I see, he's going gangbusters out there, so taking care of our own has been a good thing. Third quarter, we contracted engineering services to design a communication data center, realizing that the data center may not happen in 2016, but we at least needed a game plan for this building when we needed to kick it off. And when I say communication data center, that is not a cable TV building. That is communication stuff. That's the networking, the servers, all the things that allow us to do what we do here at the utility for the city and for ourselves, okay? We received Courtney and Associates Water Cost of Service Study and recommendations, which I mentioned a little earlier tonight. And we did implement those rates. I put this in the third quarter as well. And then Bennett and Williams then came in after you approved in the first quarter the groundwater study and the recommendations. Fourth quarter, we did restructure the water rates for the 2016 through 2020 calendar years. So those years are already laid out, and those will hit the increases as needed. Again, I do want to mention, if this AMI project doesn't get off the ground, we're going to revisit that. So this is a milestone, but we may be back coming back to it. Presented advanced metering infrastructure project, which again we talked about tonight to get to the next step. The big one for us, we amended the power purchase supply schedule with AMP for January 2017 through 2024. That's a long time when it comes to, if you guys remember, back the last 3 years that Steve was here, he was trying to get long-term contracts, and at that time the energy markets, they wouldn't give them to you. Because power prices were high, they had the upper hand, and they were going to make you take small blocks. Today, with power prices being depressed because so much natural gas and oil being down,
they're looking for longer term contracts. This contract here for energy alone is 3.6 cents. So I mean, it's the same, almost the same price we were paying in 2003. And we're secured to 2024. This is good stuff. This also, under this contract, everything that falls off, so we are under contract today for X, Y, and Z. When those fall off, this contract picks up and carries. This is peak, intermediate, and all the other blocks that are out there. So it's all inclusive, good stuff. Reclassification of employees. We reclassified Brad Plummer, James Dunning, Chad Fitzenrider, AJ Guerin, Johnny DeGroff, Whit Longcore, Shane Smith, Eric Herman, David Herman, Jay Ziegler, Elise Steinke. Those recommendations were all made for those reclassifications on schooling and other things that they did to get there. Okay, it wasn't just, oh, we like this employee, let's reclassify him. There's a process in place to get them from point A to point B, and they've jumped on that. So if you look at that, that's just a sample of all the people we have taking classes to improve themselves for the utility. The new hires, temporary part-timers, those are those summer helpers, those part-time employees, Tommy Iyer, Hayden Hageman, Nathaniel Rao, Kyle Roop, and Chris Bryce. The reason why we call them temporary part-time employees, a lot of these staff members like this, when they come back from college or have time off, a month off, we bring them back on staff because we still have plenty of work for them to do. And we have that in the budget built that way. Okay, so it's not just seasonal. We have used them at different times of the year. Power supply, busy slide. So what we are attempting to do here is to show you the percentage of breakout of your power supply itself. The OMEG pool, which is the Ohio Municipal Electric Group, that's the group we belong to, makes up 4.5%. That's purchasing power through them. NYPA is New York, the hydro is in New York. JV5 is your Bellevue hydro plant. AFEC is Energy Campus, Fremont. Landfill gas is basically it's a landfill that we're harvesting gas off, and we're part of a group that's buying power from them. Prairie States, the big dragger, that is the big fossil fuel plant we're part of. Blue Creek is a wind farm, GS replacement. Unfortunately, that project was a project that didn't go so well for us as a group, and this is the replacement power for the project not taken off. Okay, and then the AEP remaining requirements contract, which is exactly similar to the contract we just signed with AMP, which is a remaining loads requirement contract. Now, Blue Creek, AMP-GS, the landfill, and the AFEC in the next 5 years will be falling off. So as you can see, this 17.27% is going to increase to probably 30% when it's all done and said. That's a good thing. That means 30% of your power is coming at 3.6 cents. Not capacity, but the energy. Big difference. Now, I highlighted the Auglays, the power plant, and the solar field. You know, this is the actual kilowatts that was produced by those, and this is what it made up of our total needs. So we purchased 179 million kilowatt hours from AMP as our rate A group requirements, okay? The utility needed 191 million. The offset is right here. Now, you look at the power plant, you're going, whoa, you guys put power out in the power plant? You guys are actually, this is when we do our maintenance runs, we're doing peaking runs, our capacity runs. We still account for that because it's still energy you didn't have to buy on the market, okay? We always say that Auglays makes up about 5% of our power needs. It does, any given year. This number, and Matt will go into it more than I will, is down. And if you remember, we told you at the beginning of last year we had a turbine that was down at the Auglays, so one of our bigger units did not run all year. I'm going to say if Matt would have had that running, and which we didn't because we were working on GT2, that number probably would have been around the norm of about 10 million kilowatt hours. So we would have hit 5%, give or take. Maybe a little softer on that. So currently, our renewables make up 20% of your portfolio, and fossil fuels make up 80%. Okay, so almost meeting the board-directed goal years ago of having the renewables, I think, at 25%, Lou? I know I should know this, I always mess it up. Because we changed it. It was 15 and then went to 20, right? Or was it 20 and went to 25? Okay, because it was a quick change there. Now, what I just told you here changes that number here in the next 5 years. So as a board, we need to talk about in the next 5 years, what do we want to see renewables at? because we'll have to amend a resolution for one thing. And number two, we have to see what makes sense. Now, I'll be honest, the cost of renewables are starting to come down. Okay, because when we got into the renewables, they were new. The expenses were there, it was something that wasn't, trend setting. Today that's changed. Today solar is really moving strong, wind is moving strong. We just have to look at where we want to be at and how do we get there. That 2024 contract we have gives us that time frame to look at that. That's why we went out to 2024, okay? Part of it was we wanted to secure an 8-year contract where we had some good rates. We could keep our rates levelized. And we also wanted to be able to talk about what do we want to look like in 10 years from now? What do we want to look like in 15 years? Because really by year 5 of that contract, you're going to start to look for these other things. It's not an overnight turn a switch. We're going to start to phase ourselves back in, okay? So those of you that are on the board and will probably be on the board then, I would start thinking about that now. Financials. So the electric department started the year with a fund balance of 10.13, and believe it or not, we ended the year at 10.1. Now, we were projecting about 9.5. Now think about how much money we spent on the turbine and how much money we spent on developing the land and doing the things we needed to do. That's pretty significant. This is a good number, folks. Now, this is the other thing I want to hit on why we're here is I continually, it's an education process. When we talk about this ending fund balance, this is not a slush fund, okay? And I've had people talk to me in the community and say, well, why do you need a $10 million slush fund? Why do you need that fund balance? This pays your bills. This pays your bills when the money is not coming in. If something would come catastrophically fail here at the utility and we still have to make our payments, which we are obligated to do, this covers that. Doing some quick math and number-wise, we should be sitting 9.5 all the time because that gives us about 120 days to pay our bills. Okay, so we're just a little over 120 days. Industry standard today is going 180 days out. So that 10 looks rather big, but that just gets you almost 4.5 months, maybe 5 months of paying bills. That's not a long. And not to say we don't react very fast, but no offense, we meet twice a month. We can have special meetings. But we're government. We don't act very fast. So you need time, okay? Water Department fund balance started at 1.3 and ended at 1.4 and realized this year was a year that the water team decided to really dive in maintenance type work and hold off on some capital projects. Very impressive. The group did some really good things Norm will talk about. But that 1.4 is a good start to pay off AMI project when it starts. And we are now collecting this year the first, this first billing cycle will be our first collections on the new rate schedule. So this number will probably be skewed for the next couple of months because of this collection. But realize the difference in here allows you to make a heavier down payment on the AMI when it starts to lower your payment costs on the 5-year period. Joe's communication started at 1.3, finished at 1.5. That is huge when it comes to all the changes we had to make. We had rate increases, we had added expenses. This number comes at the cost of capital and operations, keeping everything tight, okay? And I commend Joe for this because early January last year, I'm like, Joe, at the end of the year, we're making your last big payment. Be ready to stomach a $300,000, boom, and then get yourself set up that you can start to run after that payment's made. He did that. That 1.5 allows us to make our $300,000 payment, or $294 and some odd change, and that leaves him about 1.2 to get rolling and get some things going this year. So that was planned. We just didn't happen to fall into a $1.5 million fund balance. That's planned. As you can see, the expenses versus the receipts were fairly close. Expenses outweighed were underneath the receipts for communication, clearly underneath for water, and just underneath for electric. Okay. Other than that, we're going to jump into the departments unless you have any questions for me. Okay.
I want to first start off by thanking our group and team out back for the great job they do every day. Engineering for what they do for us, the ladies up front, Jackie, Sylvia, everybody, Lou, appreciate it, Joe, Norm, bat. Appreciate all you do for us as a department. Go into our projects here. We first started out the year, we did in the industrial park. Well, it's by the industrial park out between New Hope or Grace Community Church and the industrial park. They replaced a couple of 75-foot transmission poles. We installed and replaced about 8 poles along County Road E also, and we installed about 2,700 feet of overhead wire along County Road E and Industrial Drive there for some replacement projects to change our feeds around and stuff for the Circuit 3 out there on County Road E. Moving on to County Road 16 and 34, we replaced about 8 poles out in that area of town. This is east of town here. And we direction board 3 services under State Route 34 to straighten the line out we had there. A new business went in out on South Main Street, Tractor Supply Company. We installed a 3-phase service for that into a 1500 kVA pad mount transformer for that business going into town. North Allen Street street lighting, we installed 6 lights and poles for, and this was part of a street improvement project with the city. That was a nice project. We installed a 3-phase service for the wastewater treatment plant. We adjusted the feed from Daggett 2 and moved it over to Daggett 1, which would improve the power to the plant, and we put a new transformer in out there, and I think that was a nice project that we could do together for the wastewater plant. We rebuilt the ITW Tomco Plastics electric service. We went from 2 1500 kVA transformers down to 1 2000 kVA pad mount, and we did that with Tomco as a joint project, and to improve the feed to the factory. It's a nice project. On South Union Street, this would be by JCIM, replaced 9 poles in front of their plant, and along with that project, we upgraded JCIM's 400 amp 3-phase service for their fire system. That was a project that kind of went hand in hand with that pole replacement project. Then we went out to Evansport Road and replaced 10 poles along Evansport Road. That we had some red tag poles that were bad, so we replaced them out there. We rebuilt an underground system in East Village, Phase A. This was about 2,000 feet of primary cable and about 1,000 feet of secondary cable for that project. We rebuilt electric service for D&M Tire. This was due to an expansion of their business, and we had to reroute their primary and secondary feeds to that business. We installed electric service for the Church of Latter-day Saints on Town Line Road. This was about 100 feet of primary cable to a 150 kVA pad mount transformer. We implemented a meter base service entrance upgrade program, which we sent about 250 letters to homeowners that have meter bases that need upgraded. That was a stance that the department took to get some of the older meter bases that were showing deterioration and stuff up to standard. So we're in the midst of that project now. It's not really completed, but it was a project I wanted to mention. It's kind of a good project to do. We replaced street light poles on North Main Street. This is about 21 poles to the new style that we have on our main street run there on the south. Now all the poles on the south side and the north side are replaced to our new style of pole. Let's see, West Fountain Grove Drive, we replaced 3 75-foot Class 2 poles. This allowed us some space to install an overhead switch and make a tap to the new Bryan High School project. The Bryan High School service, this was a project that we completed this year that encompassed about 1,300 feet of 3-phase primary cable There were 4 3-phase primary junction boxes, a primary meter set, and a 1500 kVA transformer for that project. On Avalon Drive, we had a conversion project, about 500 feet. We converted of overhead primary to underground, and we installed about 250 feet of secondary underground cable for that project. The city improvement project on Oakwood and Belmont Avenue, we installed 5 street lights and poles along that with their street improvement project they had. We extended primary on East Wilson Street. This was about 460 feet of primary and 300 feet of secondary pipe to provide service to a new customer out by the airport. We extended electric service for the Davalin expansion. Replaced a riser pole there, and we installed a 150 kVA pad mount transformer for that. We had extended 3-phase service to Wilton Cack Recycling, which is the old Ohio Art building there on the east side of Toy Street. We extended about 200 feet of primary to a 300 kVA pad mount transformer. And then on Parkview Avenue, installed a couple street lights and poles for that street light. Notable projects this year, we submitted an application for RP3. Sylvia and Jackie Perry really helped a lot on gathering information, entering information for this project. They had a lot of hard work in getting that submission. So we hope to hear back at the end of this month of where we stand with that RP3 designation. We conducted an electric system study. We worked with Spectrum Engineering to do that study. Gathered a lot of information that we provided them. They built us a model and did a 10-year planning proposal for us, which they're going to come in and do an executive summary at the February 16th board meeting to go over that. We hosted Public Power Week. We have electric line worker rodeo demonstrations. That was a success. The department held CDL training with electric lineman Kevin Rao teaching. I think there was 5 or 6 of us here at the utility that needed CDLs, and Kevin got them through the training and made sure that they were able to pass their tests, and everyone that went through the training passed, so he did a great job doing that. The 6934.5 kV off-road easement clearance, this is behind Titan Tire. There is a lot of dead ash trees that were back there behind that easement. A lot of them were a little more than what we would normally do for trimming and line clearance, so we kind of partnered up with Titan and split half and half to get some of them trees down to take out any possibility of them falling on the line and creating problems for them and us. So we kind of joined effort to get that line clearance done. Other notable projects provided line clearance for circuits 3 and 1, and we did about 3 miles of the Marcus corridor line trimming this year. Along the Marcus corridor, I think it's every 5 or 7 poles, there's guy wires. All the guy guards were gone, so we put a project in place to replace all them guy guards that they're yellow, that if anybody's driving down there, you're not supposed to drive on the corridor, but people do. They at least know that there's a guy guard there, so we went and made an effort to replace them. We sent a team down to AMP and competed in the AMP rodeo. We assisted the street department with tree removals along the terrace, and we provided Northwest Electric with mutual aid when they had a 69 line blow down on Scott Road. A couple days there. 2016 projects, Marcus corridor pole testing and maintenance. We want to continue on the trimming. We want to test the lines. It's been 5 years since we tested the poles, so we want to continue to test them poles every 5 years, and this year would be the year to test. So we're going to continue that. The East Village Primary and Secondary Project Phase B is the second part of replacing 40-plus-year-old cable out here in East Village subdivision. Replace the Town and Country three-phase service. This is the old Kmart building out here on East High. We want to get a new feed into that transformer location and provide service for the new Bryan Elementary School, which the old middle school will be the new elementary school, and we'll have to provide a three-phase service for that installation. And we expect to extend power to greenfield subdivisions out southwest of town for Dave Brown and his expansion out there. That's really all I have, unless somebody has some questions.
I see you did some line clearance work on 2 of the curtain circuits in the corridor. Was it a mile of the corridor?
Yeah.
Are we not using the forestry service anymore for?
Yeah, what I did is I split up AMP and brought AMP, and they did the curtain 2 or 3 and 1 circuits. And we put them on the distribution, and we contracted with Nelson Tree Trimming and put them on the corridor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we were able to get the transmission lines cleared, plus get some of our distribution circuits cleared. Thank you. There's nothing else, I guess I'll get the man now.
Thank you, Al.
Good evening. I'd like to echo Al's sentiments also about the wonderful staff we have to work here. It is really a joy to work with these guys. And also I'd like to thank the board for supporting the power plant and us during the GT2 project. I know it's a tough project, and I got a little leery about coming back. I always asking for more money, so hopefully I can show some of the fruits of our labors here. At the power plant, I'd like to talk about generation. We have 4 major streams of revenue. There's demand response, our capacity peak shaving, our transmission peak saving, and cost avoidance and sales. The demand response, there was no events called in 2015. Basically, the demand response program is we sell our generation out into a market like 3 years ago. And then if there's ever a need where the demand is really high on the grid, they can call us and tell us you need to run your generation. And so we have 1 hour to be online and ready to go. If there's no events called, and then we have to pass a test to say that, well, we're really not signing up for stuff we don't have. So we passed our test on August 25th with all the generation running, and that went really well. Our demand response revenue, we're expecting around $207,000 this year. That program's not as lucrative as it used to be. And that's after a projected buyback. We're going to have to buy back some of the capacity that we have sold into the market because PJM changes all the rules on us all the time, and some of our generations don't qualify, the Nordberg, Auglaize, so forth. We got to buy those credits back. So that's where we're at on demand response. As the capacity peak shaving, this is for PJM, and these peaks happen in the summertime. PJM is our regional transmission authority that covers all the way from Illinois, about 13 states, all the way to the East Coast. So that's the area that we're concerned of when there's a peak in that area. We call those the 5 CP, so the 5 highest peaks throughout the summer, we need to be peak shaving because they look at our meter and then they judge us on how much we're drawing at those times. So during the 5 CPs this summer, we averaged 14.8 megawatts at the power plant, and that's without GT2 because GT2 was down for repair. 3 megawatts at Auglaize, we were able to trim there. Bryan Solar averaged about 1 megawatt, so that capacity is going to be worth about a little over $798,000 for the year for that revenue stream. The other revenue stream is the transmission peak shaving. Now this deals with AEP, our incoming power. So AEP will charge us a transmission rate for the following year based off their highest 1 CP or their highest peak hour in the year. So we watch those. Sometimes they happen in the winter, sometimes they happen in the summer. and we try to be generation running during those peaks. If our generators are running, our meter load is really low, so when AEP sets that peak, they look at our meter, they see a small number, and then we get charged a small fee, so that's a big savings for us. If you remember last year, nobody was running, and it cost us a lot of money because we weren't running. This year, the peak was set on February 20th at 8 a.m. in the morning. It was really cold, if you remember. It was cold. The power plant operated, we were at 17.5 megawatts. That'll translate to a savings of over $911,000 for the year in transmission. The All Glaze Hydro is at 3.5 megawatts, so that'll be a little over $185,000 a year. And Bryan Solar, since it was 8 a.m., not much light, we didn't get much out of that, but we did manage about $4,200 a year out of the solar. The next generation stream, Bryan touched on this a little bit. Anytime we're running generation, that's power we don't have to buy. So we call it a cost avoidance. So at the power plant this year, with a little over 1,000 megawatt hours for $74,000. Bryan Solar, a little over 2,600 megawatt hours for $174,000. And also the solar field, whenever it's generating power, every megawatt we get, we create a solar rec. And Bryan sells those solar recs out on the market, and for this year we sold $296,000 of green energy credits. Then All Glaze generated about 8.7 megawatt hours for sales. Now All Glaze is not behind our meter, so we don't have a cost avoidance. We actually sell that out on the market, and we get the daily price of power when we're selling it. So we generated $591,000 in sales at All Glaze. And then we have 2 units down there, our green energy machines, and so we generate recs with those and sold those for $17,000 for last year. So that's our revenue from the power plant. All Glaze, Bryan touched on this a little bit. We did have a machine down, unit 3 down most of the year. And with all the flooding, you remember the rain in the spring and all that water, we should be just gangbusters. Well, it's too much water. Basically, if you look at the line on the graph, that's the number of days that the flow averaged between 1,000 and 8,000 cubic feet per second over the dam. That's ideal for our generation. So it's kind of a way to quantify what our generation is based on how much water flow we have. So the line on top shows the number of days, and it peaked down quite a bit in 2015. And it wasn't because there wasn't a lot of water flow. There was a lot of water flow where we really can't generate. So being that fact, plus the unit 3 down, we are a little down this year. I'd definitely like to hit over 10 million kilowatt hours every year. So projects completed. Our big one was the GT2 Westinghouse major rebuild. As you know, we had problems with the machine. We got 916 brand new turbine blades, new row 5 discs, upgraded turbine blades. Total rebuild on that unit, and it does run well. Bryan's right. We're running over a megawatt. What my chart says, every time we hit it, we're a megawatt over, so it's really running efficient. And to go back to the root cause of the damages on the turbine blade, we went ahead and installed a filter house in there to take any small particles or anything that machine ingested and stop that. So we put a filter house up that has about 120 of those large filter panels in there, and that'll stop any of the small stuff from getting in, so we'll hopefully never have that issue again. And really the project I had already planned was to upgrade the control battery string. There's 60 of those 2-volt battery cells in there that make up the emergency power, backup for lube pumps and so forth and control, and we got those all replaced. Down at All Glaze, the unit 2 runner bearing failed in December. I have that as a completed project. It's not quite complete. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be complete. So I kind of ran over a little bit, so I thought I'd put it in there anyhow. And then we did remodel the switchgear room upstairs. It's kind of a before and after picture there. The guys did all the drywall work, painting, upgrading, and then we got environmental controls there with air conditioning and heat, and it actually looks professional like a power plant should now, so it was a nice upgrade there. So I think that's all I have. Oh, with the projects for 2016 at the power plant, basically we're going to concentrate just on keeping our maintenance items up, substation maintenance, breaker maintenance, and work at the power plant. And then at All Glaze, the unit number 3 runner shaft, there is a sleeve this is the bearing, Bill, actually you were asked about that. I thought I'd stick it on there to show you. That's what the segmented bearing looks like, with the ligma-vitae material in there. And the actual sleeve, that's a special area built up on the shaft where that bearing runs on, cracked on unit 3. So we got to take that all apart, get it out, get it repaired and back together. So that's where we're at.
Is that shaft still at an angle, or you've got that compensated for that?
Now that runs off a little bit. This unit 3 looks like it's, the bearing wear on that is really good, so I think it's well aligned. Unit 2 is the one that's off a little bit.
Unit 2's one, so.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Which units do we get the wrecks off the hydro?
We get wrecks off unit 2 and
Only.
unit 6. Those units were installed after
After.
2000, and they're the ones that qualify. They discounted the other units because they were already in place.
So it's 2 and 6? Or?
2 and 6, yeah. 6 is our little exciter
small.
unit,
Yeah.
so.
So what do you have to, Matt, do you have to do anything to certify the other ones?
Just,
We tried and tried. In Ohio, no, they won't allow us to certify. We've been back and forth a lot of times. Whether we can get them certified out of state, don't know. It'd be a stretch if we could. So.
What kind of a problem do they have with them if they won't certify? Is it the age or?
No, the ruling was it had to be new generation put in after 2000. The generators at the plant were before that, but we upgraded them all. But they're basically calling our upgrades maintenance and not
Even
new
though they
equipment.
produce renewable energy?
Yeah, and all the work we did at the dam, I mean, flash boards and all, we tried everything to get it.
The 2 units that are certified, those were empty bays, and they were installed after
After
that period. So by the PUCO and all that group that manages those, they look at that, or even PJM, and they say, hey, there's nothing there, now there is, so we can certify that. We're still working on certification in Pennsylvania. It's been a trying process, but,
So there's a possibility they could be certified? Possibly.
still working on it.
Yeah, it'd be a long time.
It's a process. And the rec market for hydro, so we are part of the AMP Hydro project. Realize all those 300 megawatts or 300,000 recs that are generated monthly are going to be dumped in the market here real soon.
it's going to depress.
It forces that market down. So it's a little bit of money, but it's not a
Well,
game
we're the only
changer.
players in the market, we were doing pretty good.
Yeah, when you're the only player, you can get some good prices. That's why those numbers are very nice to look at. I really appreciate Matt showing the transmission revenue or savings, averted cost, and that was with 1 unit, because the year before, we didn't hit the peak, and it cost us $1.5 million for the year. Okay, so about $150,000 a month on our main power bill was transmission that we couldn't avoid. Just that what Matt showed us, and so on a unit down, we weren't too far off that. So our estimates of $500,000 to $600,000 of averted cost to repair that reinforces the $2.3 million what was all done instead to repair that unit. A 3.5-year payback.
Matt, something you said was key was it no longer is the all-glaze generation behind the meter. I know that flipped or changed at some point.
A few years ago, we changed that. It used to be.
PJM changed that.
What?
PJM changed
Yes.
that. So we didn't. PJM did.
They wanted the transmission.
Well, it's actually been a better fit for us. So you buy power under the residual load contract. So whatever resource you don't have, we make up at 3.79 cents now, or 89 cents. So what was happening is we were buying power for 3.79, and some days the market was commanding 4.5, 5 cents.
Oh,
So we're buying it cheaper and selling it for more, and the little log lays is just chugging along, making us a nice little revenue stream.
Well, that is okay.
That's a win-win on that one.
Okay. But we still have then, if it's not behind the meter, then we're paying transmission costs or something.
No, it helps
No,
on
we're getting
transmission
transmission
because they
credit.
consider that a
They-
negative load.
Oh, they consider that a negative?
Yeah, they take it off for us.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, that
for
one
now.
we'll talk about for now.
Yeah, we won't talk about it. It's for now.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it works.
And I saw I read something that the flash boards went, are they gone, not,
Yeah, they were,
28th of December?
right at the end of December, we lost them during that flood.
And you're gonna wait until spring to?
Yeah, with ice and, this is typical, I mean, it's
Yeah.
typical to lose them now.
Always happens. It's a common thing.
Yep. Okay.
Happens every year.
Nice job.
Or more than once a year.
That's
Okay.
fact.
Nice job, thank you, man.
My turn.
As Bryan alluded, we did a lot of maintenance last year, but we still got some main projects done. North Allen Street, as you might know or not know, was a joint project with the city. 100 and 200 block was completely rebuilt. This should say installed 1,053 feet of 8 and 12-inch main, probably would be a better word. There was 4-inch main on that street, and one of our goals is to eliminate all the 4-inch main over time. The 12-inch portion was the east-west portion that ties into our main tower line that goes east and west on Mulberry. Brunacarty Way, as you know, was the industrial park extension. I think I calculated since 1988, we've added over 10 miles to our underground system of pipe. We're now roughly a little over 70 miles of pipe that we have in the ground that we maintain. The crew did focus on a couple of jobs. East Hamilton Street, we had parallel lines on that dead-end block, 500 block, I believe it was, that we had been maintaining for years, a 4-inch and an 8-inch. We focused on transferring all the household services over to the 8-inch and retiring 560 feet of 4-inch there, so that was as good as putting in new main almost, because it's 500 feet less that we have to worry about maintaining. Did the same thing over on 200 block of North Portland, 200 block of North Beach, and the section of West Mulberry in between those two blocks. We were able to eliminate 1,300 feet of 4-inch main. As you know, maybe the Spanklers bought up most of the properties, and most of those homes are gone along the south side of Mulberry. And those were primarily connected to an old 4-inch line. There is a 12-inch line that lays out there in the street still, so we just made sure everybody was tied into the 12, and that retired another 1,300 feet of 4-inch. So over the course of the year, the crew upgraded 47, I believe, water services. That would be problem childs, whether they were old shut-off valves, leaky services, maybe the meter pit was damaged, maybe it was just a valve we couldn't get on. So when I say upgraded 47 water services, that pretty well means the water meter pit, the service, the meter set, and the valves. Of those 47, or of the 80 upgraded meters, 47 of them went in with the new service. The other were just upgraded water meters for other reasons. 9 mainline valves. We were, if you've driven down South Main Street this summer, a lot of those were on South Main Street. A lot of those required guys coming in early to try to get done and out of there fairly early, so the businesses could be back in service at a decent hour in the morning. Replaced 8 fire hydrants, added 9 to the system. The majority of those went on Brunacarty Way. We now maintain 536 fire hydrants, I believe it is. We did focus a lot on rebuilding some hydrants. We used to just try to change them out if they were 50 years old. Hydrants have gone up astronomically in price over the past 10 years. We used to buy hydrants for about $1,100 a piece, and now they're about $2,400 a piece. So it makes a lot of sense to try, maybe try a little, get a little more life out of them by just seeing if we can rebuild them. Now, sometimes you rebuild one and they still just won't shut off properly or won't work right, so we'll go ahead and change it out anyhow. But the past 2 years, we've helped a lot with snow removal. The guys helped haul snow from downtown. That was providing some dump trucks and some end loaders, and we tallied up about 450 hours last January and February, I believe it was. Over at the water treatment plant in the spring, we replaced the aerator media. The bottom picture shows the it half full of new media. These are plastic balls that actually break up the water into like raindrops, so it gets a more surface area to air to water ratio to oxidize the iron into a solid that can be filtered out. We did that with our own crews this time. It was 1,400 cubic feet of plastic media. It goes in and fits in this aerator. Took 2 dumpsters, and about 2.5 hard days to get all the old ones out, and then the new ones replaced. You can see the old ones on the top picture there are pretty well covered and stained with pretty heavily with iron. We took a look at our backflow prevention ordinance this year and made some changes and modifications to it, and City Council passed it as a revised ordinance. We currently monitor over 400 devices. Those are businesses are sent letters every year requesting and reminding them that their device is due to be tested, which is an annual thing. All 7 wells were flow tested. Well number 3 was completely torn apart, cleaned, screen cleaned. The pump sent in for rebuild. Some column shafting was replaced, and the motor was overhauled as well. We increased capacity by about 40% on that well. That's a real good increase. It produces about 600 gallons a minute for us. It's one of the smaller wells in production, but it's still one of their very important well to us. Bryan talked about groundwater study. That redelineated our wellhead protection plan. It also took a look at the impact of the agricultural wells that's being drilled north of us, well, actually all around us. That is just the first step in updating our groundwater protection plan. The next step now would be updating the pollution potential source inventory, because we have a bigger radius now that our wellhead protection area covers. Our water pumpage last year was just under 500 million gallons. It was down just a little from the year before. Our laboratory actually increased in samples by the new tests we started doing last year. The health department brought in more samples. They did go elsewhere for a while. Training and education last year, we hosted a 40-hour backflow course. The picture shows a couple of our employees, Jimmy and Chad, there testing backflow devices we set up in the garage right down here, and 4 of us completed this 40-hour course and got a certification on the backflow program. Also, last year we held a 14-week water distribution systems training class. That was an after-hours class held down the hall. 4 staff members completed that as well. back-to-back flow a minute. We're planning to host that classic in this year for Rockco. Dave Herman, one of our new employees in water distribution, he did achieve his Class 1 water operator distribution system certification, and Jimmy and Chad both achieved their Class 1 operator water supply, which a lot of people call that a water treatment certification, which it basically is. Chad also passed his Water 2 test this year, although he can't receive a certificate until he gets a couple more years of on the job. Overall, last year, those particular EPA tests had a 38% pass ratio. So to go down there and get one of those is very commendable. I think the Class 2 only had a 27% pass rate, so very commendable to go down and pass the EPA certification. A lot of hard work. We plan on cleaning the interior and exterior of the Fountain City Tower this year. As you can probably see, some of the mildew is starting to gather on the bottom of it again. That helps extend the life of the coating, which hopefully will last another 3 or 4 years. Well 2 would be next on the list to tear apart and overhaul based on the flow tests we did this year. We'll continue to upgrade our SCADA. We got a couple more well houses we'd like to upgrade the electrical components and the electronics in. Planning on our crews doing a block on North Lewis Street. There'll be some 8-inch main, and a block on North Baker. That's another street that has parallel lines. We were going to try to eliminate one of the lines and just use the larger of the two, but in really taking a harder look at it, both of the lines are problem childs on North Baker, the 100 block, so we thought it'd be better, more prudent just to put a new main on that 100 block North Baker. Continue with the source water protection update, that second phase I talked about a little bit ago, and post 40-hour backflow certification class. I guess I mentioned that already too. And again, this is a great place to work, great place to call home. Everybody is wonderful to work with. I want to thank everybody, and I think that's the last of mine.
Thank you, Norm.
Thanks, Norm.
Everybody.
Hi, Joe.
I'd like to take a special time to thank my team. You know, we operate our department with a short staff, and they're a good group of guys. Ken, Mike, Todd, Cody, a new person, Eric, who pulls call in our department when he doesn't really have to take a load off of those guys. All the other departments, especially Al in the electric department, his team goes out and helps our guys build and hang fiber a lot of the time because they can't do it by themselves. And I really appreciate everyone's support. This last year in the digital cable side, it shows we ended the year with 254 digital basic customers. That's those customers that take the extra digital service beyond and above the expanded basic service that most folks have. We have almost 160 DVR set tops out there. A lot of folks take those rather than the standard HD set tops, of which we have around 150 of those out there as well for those digital customers. Last year, we, under mandate of the programmers, we had to add some channels, and then we elected to add some HD channels. We added the SEC network on Digital Basic, E-Entertainment, Animal Planet, as you see there, Lifetime Movie. We added those on the HD. People who have our Digital Basic with HD set top or DVR get those programs at no charge to them. On the HFC cable and internet, we did the planning and engineering on the new communications building. I spent a considerable amount of time on that to hand off to the architect. And as Bryan stated, we will proceed with that project as soon as we can. We added the CW network on Expanded Basic and Oxygen. Those two programs there we added so that folks could get some more programming there. The FC, one of the big projects this year was last year was the FCC Title II requirements that I'd spoken to you folks about, to the board, and that was a big hit for us, for all cable operators, that we had to meet these requirements, which basically put more stress on our internet system, and I've taken as many steps as I can to keep that damage down as much as possible from what happened there. Fiber optic projects, we installed new fiber at Powertrain down the street here. They took a circuit from us. The largest fiber project was the dark fiber project for Meadow Lake, which we did an agreement with. It's for 5 years, and that's a good agreement, and Rhonda was a lot of help with us to get that agreement put together, because we had to change some things from old agreements to make that work for us. That gives them connectivity from their office in Bryan to Montpelier, back to Eden, back to Edgerton, back over, and they serve that big tall tower on County Road G, and all the way back here to their office. It's a big, big loop, and it's considerable cross-connecting that had to happen there. We worked on engineering. Nate Gardner and his team worked with me, and he's a lot of help. And we're continuing to work on a proposed new city fiber route. Our outer loop at this time is almost to capacity, and we can't add very much more on it at all. And at some point in time, we're looking to do that. Montpelier Hospital, which we have a contract with CHWC that we give them the big rain all the way from Archbold to Montpelier back to Bryan. We had a fiber go bad, and it went bad in the winter. It was not good. So we had to run them on the redundant route all the way around through Archbold and back over to Montpelier for a while, till we could get conduits thawed out and get a crew in there to be able to put us in another piece of fiber. So, but we got them up there working fine now. Also, Bryan Medical Center up here has always had a low amount of fiber going into it, and because of some other things that you're doing, the circuits we've been adding, we installed fiber into that facility, and we've got that cut over now so that they can add more circuits, because, as you know, Parkview keeps upgrading a lot of things that go in there. And I might add the electric department came up and really helped us a lot on that, because that was interesting to get that in that building too. We're real thankful for that. The BM TV and video, I know this is a lot with Lou's Department of Public Relations, but these are the things that they do that we transport on the cable system at no charge to our customers on Channel 4, and there's a lot more that's on this list that they do, and we're really thankful for that. Eric does a great job with that too. Future plans, a new communications building, as I stated. If the budget works for the entire utility in 2017, or as soon as we can, we would like to pursue that to get a good solid building for this network fiber infrastructure for the city and for the utility, and that's a big goal. We're continuing working on the cost for that. Additional new fiber route upgrade in the city of Bryan, as I stated earlier, we're still looking to pursue that as soon as we can. We've got some make ready and things that has to be done, and we want to add that as soon as we can. Bryan Street hub upgrade, That building, back in 2012, when they built the new fire and police complex, that building was built, it was actually part of the old clerk's office. And the construction company did a great job. They closed that for us, and I've got a lot of infrastructure in there, but we've got a major cutover that we need to do, and hopefully we're going to try to do that this year. It takes a lot of planning because that has to be done at night, so we're going to try to do that. The new high school, we're getting ready to build the fiber around to that, and then we'll get that overhead built around to them. It's going to be over 3,000 feet, I believe. We're also building fiber that will give us extra capacity for the future, not just for the high school. And so we're doing that, and then we'll be coordinating with them to get the fiber placed into the new high school when we're finished then. And that's all my presentation.
Thanks, Joe. Congratulations on paying off your debt.
Good evening. Last but not least. At the end of 2014, we combined video and public relations to create the Public Relations and Media Department. So we kicked off 2015 with Eric and I working together, and I think it's been a very successful reorganization. The synergism of Eric's skills and my skills have really helped us be able to communicate with our customer owners in a lot of different ways. One of the big things we did was to look at our branding, and following months of work, our committee proposed a new logo, and then that was adopted. And our new logo reflects our brand. We think it's, well, it is unique, and it's got a fresh, modern look. So now then, the next step has been to implement it, and we designed new stationery, new business cards, new signage. You'll start to see it now on our fleet vehicles. We designed all new office templates, clothing emblems, and then it was also implemented on all our online locations. So it's been work going on for quite a while, but it's coming to fruition now. For the website, we created a new page to feature our industrial parks, and we also published 13 news releases, all the BPA minutes, 3 new videos, the annual report, the annual water quality report, hydro production for 365 days, the new rates for water and cable TV. There's just a wealth of information on our website, and it's a job to just keep all of it up to date. We looked at our web analytics for the year. There were 35,000 sessions of engaged users. There were 17,000 new and returning users, and 76,847 page views for the year. This was a big year for us to get into our social media. So we felt it was necessary to adopt a policy. We created a BMU social media policy, which was adopted. And then we had a Facebook account, but we got a lot more active on it. I want to just show you that account, our Facebook page. This is our Facebook page. And let me scroll down a little bit. And give you a little bit of data on our Facebook. We increased our likes by 40%. Our top 2 posts were a photo taken at Public Power Week, and then a video that we posted with the electric crew putting up the Christmas decorations. And I'm going to show you that video. This is just an example of what we have.
Hi, my name's Kevin Rao. I work for Bryan Municipal Utilities. Been a lineman with them for 24 years. And this is the time of the year that we put up our Christmas lights for the community. It's a community service that we provide to our city to make beautification for the arrival of Santa Claus. You can see there's a lot of work that goes into our square if you come visit it. We put a wonderful display up, many things for the kids to look at, the Christmas lights. It takes approximately 8 days, roughly, to get everything up. By the time we put the stringers to the courthouse with the lights, and we put all the lights around the courthouse. It's in preparation for November 27th, when we have our Christmas parade, when Santa Claus comes to town. We put a truck in, we decorate it all with lights, and it's a really neat function for our community to bring Santa in.
That video reached 5,495 people and was viewed. Whoops.
Well, we had a leak here, we dug, we had it patched, and now we're sealing the edges so water doesn't get down in
created
the
a monster.
cracks.
Yeah, I guess.
Blacktop when it freezes this winter. That way also the
I don't
snowplow
know why
doesn't
that
catch
one's
it
going.
and peel up the asphalt. All the patches around, a lot of them are on South Main Street.
Equal share between the
Yeah.
partners.
I guess it auto plays. That video from on the electric crew uptown was viewed 2,300 times. And for the year, the page videos were viewed 5,863 times. We also have a Twitter account, which this is our Twitter page. And we had 284 tweets and gained 24 followers. In addition, we started an Instagram account in April, and we had 61 posts and 31 followers. Instagram is a photo page. And both our Twitter and Instagram accounts are followed by American Public Power Association and the American Water Works Association. In BMU video, in our department, we produced 3 industrial park promotional videos, and we produced a 12-minute BMU info video. That video, all those videos are on our website, and the BMU info video was also shown at the Bryan Rotary and Kiwanis clubs. In addition, we documented the GT2 repairs from start to finish and have created a video on that, which we showed to the board. And we produced ads for 28 local commercial clients and inserted 110,000 spots on our cable system. Those videos for the industrial park were also shared with AMP's Economic Development website, and they posted them on their site, and with WEDCO, as well as our site. We also launched a BMU YouTube channel. This right here is a picture of the channel, and we uploaded 236 local programs and had 8,905 views and 1,017 hours of watch time. That's our new location to house our videos. And we also produced 21 short BMU news videos. We like to call them our BMU shorties. And this is an example of one of them.
We're rebuilding the hydrant. The hydrant seat is leaking, so this is the hydrant seat removal tool. Takes 2 guys to operate, and you go around and around to spin the bottom piece out, and then once the seat gets spun out, then we lift it out, take it to the truck, totally rebuild it, put all new parts in it, and put it back together. We do our hydrant maintenance during our flushing in the spring and the fall, and anything we find when we're doing the spring flushing, we come back and repair them. So we do this every year. The casting on that will last forever. So, you know, you can pull apart the brass parts and change them out, and it's really easy. You don't have to dig nothing, and it's a lot easier. We've got the seat and everything rebuilt, and we're just putting it back together. It's all teamwork. We all work well together, and it goes easy.
Those BMU shorties we post them on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube page, and they are definitely one of our most popular items. People like to see what's going on. In the meantime, we also have print and direct mail projects. We produced an annual report, 24-page full color report, and we mailed out 80 copies to our key accounts. Those are our largest customers. We produced 4 newsletters, full color newsletters that were direct mailed for a total of 20,400 direct mail pieces. We updated the cable TV brochure, and we created letters and postcards for the water, electric, and communications departments, and mailed out 13,244 pieces direct mail. Across media, that would be print, radio, video, and social, we did for the Drinking Water Week, to celebrate Drinking Water Week, to celebrate Public Power Week, and we did a small marketing campaign for the cable and internet. And finally, we build our content libraries that way we have the resources to draw on. We took over 1,600 high-resolution photos of our utility and activities, and 750 gigabytes of video content. Our plans for next year: we want to redesign the website. We want to build our social media accounts. We don't necessarily want to launch a new one. It's a lot of work keeping up all those sites, and so we want to just add more content and try to get more followers. We definitely want to produce more of our BMU shorties and continue our print projects and video projects that we do all the time. The annual report, newsletters, mailings, local programmings, meetings, and ads. So that's, yeah.
So do any of your shorties or any of your YouTube videos end up on the TV channel 3 or 4?
No, the shorties are not. They're on our YouTube and Facebook. They're only a minute or less. Any other questions?
That's great.
This concludes our presentation for the utility for all the departments. And I'm sure I can speak for all of us. We're anxious to continue our work in 2016.
Norm, we go back to water, maybe you can answer this, Brian. Norm talked about the price increase of hydrants being at $2,200 or hydrant, and then the old ones were $1,100. But how much does it cost to rebuild one? Is it?
It was on the screen, $100
I
for
didn't see
rebuild
that.
kit.
Was it 100?
It's for the kids, $100.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I don't know if Norm has calculated time and, man hours and stuff like that. But it's usually like an hour process, give or take. So there's significant savings. And it's something they actually just started doing this year. In the past, it was, one of those, well, we'll just dig it up and replace it and we'll have a new one there. Well, trying to be less evasive, more customer friendly. So
It seems like a significant savings for the board. And it would extend the life, and Gus talked about, the gas irons, they were gonna wear out, that part's gonna stay there, it's just
We used to
internal.
store some busted old hydrants out by the tracks.
Yeah.
And when we'd get to them, we'd replace
With
the guts to them over the years. I was part of
That's a good.
watching those costs go up
So with
extremely.
the group of employees you had today, they bring in the sales reps from Mueller and all the other vendors to put on repair sessions and seminars, and so then they tackle the stuff on their own. Same thing for communication, same thing for water and electric. So I mean, the success of the utility today is it's the employee base and the supervisors that manage them. I mean, I don't want to throw myself under the bus here, but they make my job really easy most days. That's 99% of the time. So pretty amazing people, actually. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I want to thank all the department heads for all your hard work. All your presentations were very good. Okay. Next on the agenda is the affect semi-monthly disbursements. Can I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second,
Dick,
Yes.
Karen,
yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Comments from BPA and staff?
I'll keep it fairly short. I know Mayor and Rhonda have to take off. They have a council meeting tonight here in about 20 minutes, give or take. So I did want to mention, we did get a call this morning or this last couple of days to do a transmission peak run. And as you're now aware how much those savings can be, we couldn't run because we were notified by Ohio Gas that they didn't have the fuel reserves for us to run. I'll put it that way. If you remember, there was that firm gas contract that we could have signed a while back. Revisit that not too long ago, several months back, and the dollars didn't make sense, so we held off. So what we are operating under is what they call an interruptible contract, and we were interrupted. How's that? So with that being stated, with the temperatures and doing our first cold transfer of diesel fuel to try to get those turbines up and running, we were not successful with turbine 1. We had a flame out, which means all the expense fuel stayed in the burn chamber, and Matt's crew had to tear it apart and clean it all out. We can't try to fire that unit up that way because we will have fireworks come out of the stack, for one thing, and we're not going to damage a unit. Unit 2, the one we put all the money in, come up to speed about 40%, and the old controls that balance fuel and air and some other things, because they are old electromechanical, had a hiccup, which brought the turbine offline. Once it's offline, there's a cool off period, and there's a bunch of other things that have to happen. So we've effectively missed our transmission peak. Now, that peak was 21,000 kilowatts, kW, across the grid. Matt and I have our fingers crossed that we hit another peak this summer. Greater than 21.25 / whatever. No, we should. We hopefully should. If we get some warm weather, about a week of 100 degrees, I'd be happy. That way, we can generate with those reserves and hit our peak.
Well, the gas company sells gas in July. They have the capacity to.
They should have capacity, is all I'll say.
I'm
Just curious.
Why we were interrupted. I interrupted.
We were never interrupted because we were never given the opportunity to run. How's that?
Oh, okay.
So, with that being stated, we will continue to work through this issue and try to get some resolve here for the future. Now, quite honestly, it could affect us in the sense of, well, Matt and I talked, it could be $1 million. And again, this is for the 2017 billing cycle. Now remember, I said 2015, we ate the cost of the $1.5 million because we missed the peak because it happened in 2014 on a day that was not anticipated, okay? That it did cost us $150,000 a month on our main power bill, which if you guys know me and my staff knows me, I am so critical of our main power bill. There's certain functions of that bill that really irritate me. And that's one of the areas we can control if we have the right tools in place. So we are still working through it. Like I said, we are at that point where we really I don't want any more cold weather this winter. I could care, we need to move on till spring, and I needed a couple hot days to, because we want to garner that transmission peak. That's a big savings. So I needed to be forthfront with you folks. I'll let you know it was missed.
So we lost it 2 years in a row.
No, we got last year's peak,
We did.
which we feel this year. That $911,000 that Matt showed you in his presentation is for this year's savings, which was captured last year.
Captured.
2014, we missed the peak. Everybody did, actually, the whole grid did, by a couple days. And we felt that payment in 2014,
Oh,
or 15.
50.
Got my years. Everything's a year off.
Yeah, every other year though.
Yeah.
So far, yeah.
So as of right now, our 2017 peak we've missed. So we're gonna look at it as a downfall on our end, and we're gonna try to hit it, hopefully, it hits again this summer. We need it to hit again, so. Okay, that's enough of the good news, right?
That's good news. Mayor?
I'm gonna have to run. We didn't have, because of Martin Luther King, we didn't have meeting last night, so we're meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. And to tell Bryan it's supposed to be warmer tomorrow.
Thank goodness.
Maybe we'll peak.
Rhonda?
It's just a little bit of a weird feeling tonight to see that loan get paid off, because that amortization sheet and promissory note I drafted,
Did you really?
yes, and thinking, wow, this is a long time from now, and here we are in a blink of an eye, at least
Yeah.
it seems to me. So good to see that
Yes, it is.
under the belt.
Excellent.
Okay. No? Anybody?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on all the reports that were presented tonight, and I know the Bryan Times is here and they can do the highlights, but they can't go into depth like you people did, and the people that are watching on television will really get an insight to what all goes on, so good job, everybody.
Bill?
The fact that the debt is paid off is huge for Joe and the communications department. So have a chance to be flexible and operate as they can. I think that's great. Well, the presentation tonight, the updated information is really, just really good stuff. So thank you for that, department heads.
Okay. Dick?
I'd just like to thank all the department heads, supervisors, employees. You guys did a fantastic job last year. Everybody came in under budget. Everybody worked together. We didn't have any problems. I'm glad we worked through all the turbine problems and got that all out of the way. It was a good year. I'm looking forward to 2016.
I have, I ditto everything that's been said, but I also want to bring up the fact that there is going to be a presentation on the history of the dam, Defiance Power Dam, coming up on January 25th in Defiance at 7 p.m. We have some information if you're interested in it. Just thought I'd pass that along. And it goes into, it's about the history and the building of the Defiance Power Dam. So,
Is that through the Augley's Historical Society?
yes,
They do a great job.
yeah.
Those ladies are awesome.
PowerPoint presentation and such, yeah.
Okay, good.
Genealogy Society.
I just want to remark on paying off the communications loan. I wasn't here when it was taken out, but I can tell now from being here when it's paid off what a monumental task it was, and a lot of hard work went into that. A lot of work to save money so we could get it paid off. So I commend everybody that had anything to do with that. With that, we'll go into executive session to discuss compensation of public employees. So can I have a motion for a brief recess, please?
I move for recess.
Second?
Bill?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.